This is my moment of truth. We're gonna talk about my burnout at the end of 2018. What is up, people? Jean Carlos here with the Total Body Training Podcast, where I help people get lean, gain muscle, and build some damn confidence. And today we're talking about my burnout. So, at the beginning of 2018, the goal was to create a podcast, to start vlogging, and to do a lot of really great content, including a workout series and all sorts of stuff for you all. And I can say that for the most part, we achieved all our goals. I mean, we hit nearly 100 episodes of the podcast, and we were able to put out a workout series. We were able to do a ton of useful content for all of you all, including also my own personal goals, which were rooted in taking more photos, getting better at photography, getting better at film, getting better at creating content that I enjoy making. Those were my personal goals for myself. And for the most part, we hit those. Now, there are some wiggle room, some areas where I needed to improve, and some hiccups that we ran into, but in my opinion, we hit our goals pretty much for that year. Now, something funny happened. Towards the end of 2018, with me creating as much content as I did, I started to run into some issues personally and then also technologically. So the first thing was that I started having computer problems, and I didn't fix those computer problems quickly enough. So I started having my laptop issues, things like that, and I'm not blaming it on that. I'm blaming it on myself here, that I didn't take it to, like, say, Geek Squad or somewhere like that. I kept trying to fix those things on my own. Meanwhile, I was eating away at my time that I could be creating awesome, delicious content for you all here. And for that, I have to say that I'm sorry that I slowed down around November, because between November, December, and January, things just kind of took a very slow and steady race towards not doing things. And in addition to that, I was a little bit burnout. So I was doing so much with creating the podcast and with working at Total Body Training in the studio and working with different projects and photography that I felt that I was stretched a little bit thin. Now, that is my fault. I could have been better with scheduling myself and with scheduling my life so that I could keep pushing my goals and keep creating better content for you all. In addition to that, when I took on, because at the beginning of the year, the goal was never to do a vlog. That was not a goal, but I took it on because it was a personal interest of mine and I saw that it was doing well. And in the process of taking that on, I started to find new things that I liked about doing that, and in the process of doing that, we got attention from the news media. I was on the news on 3 occasions this year, and that kind of started to become the thing I wanted to do more. And in the process of that, I realized that that's just way more time consuming. I mean, we created, I think it's 11 episodes of the vlog, which is kind of like short stories and personal storytelling. It's not like a traditional vlog, and that is really time consuming. And yours truly, me, underestimated how long it was going to take me to create the kind of vlog that I wanted to create, while also balancing out a company, while also doing the podcasting, the marketing, the advertising, while also having employees. These different things were not scheduled correctly in my mind for how I could accomplish them consistently. And I'm still, to be honest with you, figuring it out. And in the process of doing that, I got really burnt out. So there were days where I'm not gonna say lazy, where I just wasn't as productive because I wasn't giving myself like the space to think. Again, I was trying to create, I was trying to make content, but I wasn't giving myself the space to relax and think about what I wanted to make next. And so that, I would say, was burnout. And I know that different people have different levels of tolerance for those things. Other people find different ways to decompress. I'll admit that I struggle with relaxing and taking a step back and thinking about what I'm going to do next. Now, that's not always a bad thing, because I have this kind of like high intensity personality that wants to get stuff done. I get a lot of stuff done. However, in order for me to be consistent going into 2019, I'm going to have to take a step back and consider, how can I make the kind of content that I want to make, and how can I make it more consistently? And I was thinking about this a lot, and here's some ways that I'm going to approach this. First, I know that one of the things that I was missing in my personal life was yoga. And how does this relate to this? Well, when I do yoga, it helps get my mind off of things. It's one of the only ways that I can truly relax and decompress because no one has any expectations from me. No one needs me to get a project done. I don't need me to get a project done. I mean, it's just me and a yoga teacher in a class, and I get to just be someone who learns and appreciates and is present in the moment. And I love what it does for me physically because I get to challenge myself, which is something I like to do, but also psychologically I get to relax and really focus on one thing, which is getting better at flexibility or arm balancing, whatever the case might be. So this week I started doing yoga again after not having done it consistently for about a year or a year and a half. And I can already say that I feel more relaxed because I've been doing that. And in that process, with me giving myself that time to do that, I'm gonna be able to be more consistent for y'all while making content. The next thing is I needed to sit down, or I am in the process of sitting down and thinking about where I wanna go next with the content that I provide for y'all. I really love doing the vlog and I really love doing the podcast. And in order for me to do those things more consistently, I've got to chart out more of what I'd like to release this year and put definitive timelines and realistic timelines on when I can get those things done. And that is still a stumbling block for me right now. I'm working through it today, actually, being here, and this rest of this afternoon I'm filming on a Sunday. That's a day when I sit down and I take time for myself to consider where I want my company to go. And so I can guarantee you that we're gonna continue to pump out, starting in February right now, more of the podcast, the video form of the podcast and the audio form of the podcast. We're gonna keep making this because people enjoyed it. And in addition to that, we wanna try to bump up the level of interviews that we do. I did a lot of interviews in 2018. Those were some of the most viewed and listened to episodes. So I'm listening to you. I know this because I can look at the analytics of things. Y'all wanna hear different people's perspectives, and you seem to not mind hearing me ask people questions about those people. So I interviewed Ashton Ruska or John Benya, powerlifters. I interviewed someone who'd had an eating disorder, different things like that. We're gonna bring that back. I've already got an episode lined up for this Tuesday that we're gonna record and will be released the following week. So, you know, we're kind of setting the stage for giving you all the content that you want. Now, in addition to that, I want to be able to create content that I really enjoy doing, despite the fact that maybe it won't do as well as an interview. And that would be things like the photos. So I've been getting into taking more artistic photos, more artistic kinds of videos, shooting with local bands, musicians, artists, things like that. Those are things that I need in order to scratch my own personal creative itch. So you'll be seeing some of that, whether it's that you're following Total Body Training or whether it's that you're on my Instagram. So you can see that on my Instagram. I've got all sorts of photos on there that have nothing to do with fitness. And for a while I debated whether I wanted to do that or not, but what kind of inspired it was a friend of mine who told me that I should tap back into the things that I personally like to do creatively, but also Sarah Dietschy. Sarah Dietschy is a YouTuber who has this rule. She's a great YouTuber, by the way, you should check her out. She has this rule about like one for me and one for them. And so the concept is I do one creative project for myself, say some kind of documentary about something, and then another piece of content that is for my demographic. So maybe a review of what does she review? Technology, or a review of a laptop, something like that. That's what Sarah does. And when I heard that, I was like, you know what, I think I could do that. And so that's where kind of like the creative stuff comes in the vlog. The vlog doesn't always, fit in perfectly with the message that Total Body Training is saying, but it is the story of me, and in a way I am Total Body Training because I created it. So you're gonna see more of that upcoming. I mean, there's always a possibility that I'll split off and make a second channel for that kind of stuff. If I see that as being necessary, you'll hear from me then. And then there's the whole aspect of burnout. How will I get around burnout? Well, I think the best way to do it is to give myself mandatory rest weeks and rest times. So instead of like cranking out tons and tons of content weekly, I think I'm going to go back to a format where I'm batching a considerable amount at the start of a month, maybe making 20 episodes of a podcast at the beginning, and then letting that kind of trickle through, working through the process of working with my staff here, Heron, editing those, writing the copy for those, all that stuff, while I take a seat back and say, work on the vlog, or I take a seat back and don't do work. Maybe I need to go on a trip or go on a walk or go hiking, something to kind of force myself to get out of just making the content. And that's not being lazy by doing that, which is the thing that I beat myself up about, which is, well, if you're not doing it, you're not being successful and you're not pushing yourself, and like, what does that say about you? And this kind of like workaholic mentality. That is good to a certain point, but you know, when you need to, so to speak, sharpen your knife. So if you're constantly going and going, for me, you need to know your own self. For me, if you're constantly going and going, when you're me, you're going to run into creative issues. And I think I've ran into some of those creative issues. In addition to that, when I take breaks, I learn about the hobby that I like to do. So I legitimately like recording videos and taking photographs. In my off time, I can do that. So if I'm taking, like, let's say I decide I'm not gonna record for an entire week. I, will still be at Total Body Training, I'll still be doing work. And in that time, maybe I can take that time to learn or take a course about photography. My photos are okay. I'd like them to be better. I'd like to get better at that. My video work is okay. I'd like it to be sharper, a little bit more Peter McKinnon-like, right? Cleaner, more consistent. That time that I take to learn will improve my own knowledge, which will improve the quality of what I make for y'all here during the podcast. So those are the ways that I'm going to try to work on myself. I'm sorry that I was dealing with this kind of burnout. I promise you that going into February, we're going to be making lots of content and providing you all with services. I mean, right here, I've got 3 episodes of the podcast that I'm filming today. I filmed 4 this week, 4 or 5. So I promise you everything's coming out. We're coming back and we're coming strong. We're coming back harder than ever this year in 2019, starting in February. All right, people, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Until next time, peace.